Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Recce Report. As always, I'm Russ, former British Army Warrant Officer.
And I'm Cliff, former British Army Corporal. And once more, it's great to have you guys joining in on our once a month waffle through events.
Sure, we do. We try our best. So, yeah, thank you for joining us. Before we begin, mate, I'd just like to take a moment to offer our condolences to a friend and comrade, Johnny McNeil, who lost his mother recently. Funerals on Friday, so we're all thinking of you, Johnny. And if you need anything, mate, you know exactly where we are.
Well said, Russ. Yeah, absolutely.
So, talking about the events, casting a critical eye on the events of the day. Again, there's nothing much been happening since we've last been on. But obviously, we had the news last week that that Queen Elizabeth, the first of Scotland, the second of England, had sadly passed away. You might not have heard about it. There's barely been a mention in the media or the press or the news or anything. So I'm sorry if we're just breaking it to you now.
Yeah.
So what was your reaction to that then, Cliff, when you heard?
To be brutally honest, Russ, I was expecting it. She has not been looking herself these past few weeks, and yes, when you seen her accepting the new Prime Minister the other day, she wasn't looking peaky at all. Obviously, it's an absolute tragedy for her family. Because it comes in quick succession since Prince Philip died as well. But as you mentioned about the media, I think we're going to be talking about that, aren't we?
Oh, it is. And I get that, and Kevin, our illustrious, IT gremlin that works behind the scenes, put a poll up on Twitter earlier, asking about whether you support the monarchy or not, and I'm aware that quite a lot of people that support independence are also in favour of a republic. So I'm going to be quite contentious and say, actually, I'm not completely against the idea of a monarchy. Let me caveat that by saying I'm against the fact that the monarchy owns so much of bloody Scotland, and I'd much rather have what we term a bicycling monarchy, where the hangers on, the extended family get real jobs. And I think I've said this before, because having a monarch for us, certainly as veterans, as ex-armed forces, means that we don't swear allegiance to a politician. And I think for me, and it may not be a big deal for people, but for me, it's just a thing I would hate to have. Like the Americans swear allegiance to the president. I would hate to have to swear allegiance to Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, or even Tony Blair, and it wouldn't have been something I'd have been proud to do.
Yeah, there is now, I think, the correct time to reflect on. We live in the year 2022. It's not 1822, it's not 1922, we're in the 2022s. So what do we want from our monarchy? What do we want from our head of state? What type of head of state do we want? Certainly the system, for me, as is unworkable now. It is past its sell-by date. I don't think it is a fit for purpose monarchy. I fully appreciate the work that the late Queen Elizabeth put into things, but that was Queen Elizabeth, and her son is definitely not up to the same mark. He comes into position with not so nice baggage with him. It's going to be contentious, and I mentioned on my show yesterday, on the radio show yesterday, that for veterans, having the monarchy, much what you said, Russ, is a good thing for us to have the monarchy swearing allegiance to and that type of thing. But I think we need an open debate, and it needs to be taken into the open. Yes, let's let the family mourn the loss of their mother, the nations, those that want to mourn the loss of the Queen. Fine, I've no problems with that whatsoever. I do have huge issues with the blanket enforced mourning that's been broadcasted on just about every station out there. And Russ, you're the expert on this one, right? Having such doom and gloom 24/7 being broadcasted cannot be good for someone.
No, you're absolutely right, mate. And it's and I actually had this conversation with a colleague, this morning, believe it or not. So when someone high profile passes away, and you don't get much higher profile than the Queen, there's a tendency for people to, your Dan Wootons who did the performance piece down at whatever it was, where he had 4 takes to put his flowers down and film it. See, people that use that as an opportunity to almost kind of, my grief's better than yours. But from a psychological perspective, what that does is it sometimes allows people to grieve by proxy. So it's people that have had loss and grief in their own life, and it brings it back, and it gives them an outlet for that. So in some respects, it's not actually all that bad a thing. It allows people to release their emotions, be understood releasing their emotions, and to grieve, not necessarily for the Queen, but for other things they've lost in their lives. As you say, though, what's infuriating is and we see exactly the same when it comes to November, and we're doing Remembrance Day and the whole poppy fetishization that we have. It's almost like, you have to. It's not you have to grieve, but you have to grieve in the proper way. And if it's not in the proper way, if you're not doing the proper respect, then you are, as we're finding out today, people being arrested for holding up signs or for calling out when people are walking past. No, not very respectful, I agree. But we can't be in the forces and support democracy and free speech and then decide that only applies in certain circumstances. You either have free speech or you don't.
Yes.
There's no in between.
Yeah, 100% behind you on that one, Russ. Yeah, absolutely. And that was part of the gig that we used to do. We used to try and teach people the democratic way or defend our own democratic choices. Yeah, and to see people quite legitimately holding up signs or voicing an opinion, then arrested, that leaves a nasty taste in one's mouth, I think.
Yeah, and holding up signs. This was not an EDL or Black Lives Matter, Antifa, or any other things that people get upset about, where people are quite actively angry. This was, in some cases, the person held up a sign. That's a silent protest.
Yeah.
But no, taken away, breach of the peace.
Yeah.
Or disturbing the peace, as it would have been down in England if that was the case. But yeah, breach of the peace up here.
Yeah, that's the catch-all charge that they can get you for, because you try proving that you weren't. It's a horrible, nasty one. That they haven't got anything else to get you on. They'll get you on that. So that then continues, and of course we've had the suspension of all political activity, with the one exception, of course, of the Politburo meeting in St James's Palace. Sorry, the
Privy Council.
Keep calling it the Politburo. I wonder why.
To rubber stamp King Charles.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was marvellous to see, because that part has brought it into the public view now, and we can see what's going on there. But how many of them are still actually elected?
I don't know. I think they were in the Privy Council. Well, it's all the right honourables, isn't it? So
right honourable. My understanding is if you're right honourable, then you're a member of the Privy Council.
Yeah. So I think there was some there from pre-Tony Blair days at least.
Well, Tony Blair was certainly there. Gordon Brown was there. Cameron was there. Johnson was there. Theresa May was there. Obviously Liz Truss was there. But there was all sorts of people there. Carmichael was there. Alex Salmon was there.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of people. And it's one of these archaic systems that it's just, it's one of the reasons why I want independence, actually. Let's modernize things. If you need a council put together to make sure that the person becoming the head of state is lawfully that person that should be doing it.
Yeah, it's the rubber stamp, isn't it?
Yeah, we then have, how many MPs? 600 and odd MPs.
650.
Yeah, there you go. 650 and millions of lords that could do the job.
And the House of Lords, the largest unelected chamber, and second to the People's Republic of China, I believe.
Exactly. Yes, second largest unelected legislative body in the world. Woohoo! Let's hear it for our democracy.
Yeah, but the EU was bad. Sorry, different topic, not appropriate for this week.
Yeah.
So it looks like so the state funeral of the Queen is going to be Monday, isn't it? So because we've all got a bank holiday now. Well, those of us that get bank holidays, obviously.
Yeah.
Other people are going to be working. And I think they said the coronation, King Charles III's coronation, is going to be probably in the spring next year.
Right, and that's going to be nip and tuck then for the independence referendum. If we think about why we didn't go for one earlier, it was because of all the events that were coming up that would be flashing the Union flag all over the place, and how that could have a detrimental effect on people voting for an independent Scotland. The coronation, I don't think is going to have that same effect, because our people in Scotland, has the glue started to come unstuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the death of Queen Elizabeth, Queen of Scots. Because I don't think Charles carries the same
gravitas. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's a good word. I'm going to pinch that from you, by the way.
No, you're right, and it's and I think someone said that. The status quo, that was promised back in 2014, is most definitely not there anymore, and that maybe the last vestiges of that was the Queen.
Yeah.
So now it's on. It's a new monarch. It's a new prime minister. It's a new. It's post EU. New monarch, new prime minister. It's all up for grabs, mate. It has to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've never actually. This is what I love about you. The way you come at subjects is absolutely fantastic, and I blatantly pinch things off you left, right, and centre. By the way, I've no shame on that one. But I love the way you just analysed that there, because the bulwark, the status quo. You vote no, you're staying in the EU. You vote no, we will have the strong monarchy. You vote no, X, Y, and Z, and all of that's gone now.
Yeah. And I will just add, actually, just for a bit of balance, that the monarch is not a hindrance or a help either way in the independent side, because the Queen, and now King Charles, is the monarch of numerous other countries. He's still the head of state technically of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, all these places. And they all managed to survive quite happily being independent nations and have a king or queen, well, the king now as their monarch. So even if Scotland decides to keep the monarchy, that does not affect one iota or one jot the argument for or against independence.
Yeah, absolutely. Russ, can you just carry this forward a couple of minutes? I just need to blank out for a second.
No, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to have read some of the comments that have come on. I think was it Kevin? It's a bit quiet in here tonight, and I think who was it? I missed it. Where's it gone? Was it Wayne saying it's quiet tonight because people are trying to save Lecky? Mate, Wayne, you're probably absolutely right, mate. It's absolutely ludicrous. Even with this the so-called intervention by the government in capping it. at 2,500. The thing is, it's currently capped at 2,000, which means in a few months your bill's going to go up 500 quid. It's going to be ridiculous. And people, you're right, people just cannot afford it. It's just getting to that stage where I think people are going to start realizing that something has to change. We cannot keep going the way we're going. Yeah, Billy, I love your comment. I'm just going to put it up. How many TVs are switched off the next fortnight? Yeah, that's not just to save electricity, though, is it, Mike? That's to get away from the wall-to-wall, almost mandatory grieving process. I've not seen the likes of it before, to be honest. Perhaps in one of the dictatorships where they have the sort of mourning period for the beloved ruler that's died. It's 2022, and it's 10 days of black armbands and forelock tugging. I don't get it. I really don't. Yeah, again, Billy, you're right, mate. It's. I'm not going to pick the comment up because it's technically IT stuff, and I'm struggling. But yeah, you're right. It is gaslighting to a certain extent. It's telling you what you see is not what you're seeing. It's yeah. So we're having a discussion there about how somebody commented how many TVs are going to be off for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, not to save electricity, but to get away from the whole grief performance grief, if you want to call it that.
Well, yeah, it's one of these. I think we all seen it coming. All knew it was going to come. But certainly, I don't know if it was mentioned, the broadcasters couldn't wait to get their black ties on and black suits on and clothes on. On the Thursday there, even before the official announcement. But yeah. Sorry about that. I had power issues, by the way.
No, that's absolutely fine. So just moving away from the Queen and what you have to forgive us. We're not mainstream TV. We're not mandated to have a full show about the passing of the beloved monarch. So the new Prime Minister we mentioned. So not only do we have a new Prime Minister, we have a new cabinet, don't we?
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yes.
And I think we've all seen the pictures of is it Theresa Coffey, the new unhealth minister.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it's to use a colloquialism, mate, it's jobs for the boys, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, it is, without a shadow of doubt. And now we all used to think that Johnson's cabinet was the least capable, but we didn't think that the good old Conservative and Unionist Party would manage to defeat. It would beat us. They would make us eat our words, and we have to now eat our words. No, Johnson's cabinet can no longer be considered the worst cabinet in history, because good old Truss has managed to achieve that.
Well, sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, one that stands out for me is Anne-Marie Trevelyan. All right, now she is Transport Secretary, Transport Secretary.
Yeah, Transport Secretary.
Yeah. One of her previous jobs was Under Secretary for Defence Procurement. Now,
one of your pet peeves, procurement.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do hate wasting money, and my wife probably wouldn't agree to that, but I really do. And defence procurement is an absolute smash. And the good news about defence procurement is, if you ever do want to go and have a look at how poor the procedures are, it's all in the Office of National Statistics. Go toddle along there. It's open view stuff. I would suggest you, take a camera before you do it, because that's our money. That is definitely our money that goes to waste there, or money the government has to borrow that we have to pay back, probably more accurately. Yeah, so any standouts for you, Russ?
Well, I think I mentioned this before. It's I had a bit of a wry chuckle when Johnny Mercer was kicked from being the Minister for Armed Forces and Veterans. And And actually, although he's a Tory, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Johnny Mercer. He's done some good work for veterans in his time, but apparently he was almost kind of promised he would stay there, and then the minute Truss got in, he was gone.
Yeah.
Then him and his wife which made a bit of a whinge about it. But then you think how good of an army officer must he have been if he didn't see the writing on the wall way before that happened? I mean, you know what I mean? It was obvious that was going to do. Now he's been replaced by a guy called James Heapy.
Right.
I don't know much about him. I'd need to have a look at who he represents, but you may not have heard of him, people watching. But if you followed the independence referendum back in 2014, he was the one where I was visiting a sixth form school in Somerset, asked the pupils how they would vote in the Scottish independence referendum. And one of the pupils who was Scottish said, I would vote for independence. At which point he told her to fuck off back to Scotland. Now, he disputes saying back to Scotland, but he does not dispute telling her to F off in the first place. So what a lovely guy. What a lovely guy. So he's the new Minister for Armed Forces.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder what he's going to say when the veterans start having a ping about why the Forces Covenant hasn't been honoured, and why we're all still waiting for the pledge of David Lloyd George from 1918 to be realised.
And James Heapy is ex-forces.
Yeah.
So he's a retired major. He was in the Royal Gloucester, Berkshire, and Worcester Regiment, which then joined and became the Rifles.
Right. So, because when I was doing my time, the Gloucesters were the ones with the double cap badge. They had the front.
Yeah, they were on their own.
Yeah.
Then they were amalgamated to be the RGBW.
Right.
And then they were amalgamated to be part of the Rifles. Oh, yeah.
But there's absolutely no problem with recruitment and retention, is there?
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. But yeah, the rest of the cabinet, obviously, we've still got Springheel Alistair Jack as the Scottish Secretary.
I've just twigged on who you're meaning about Springheel Jack. Wasn't he a notorious murderer back in the day?
Yeah, he was. They reckon he might have been the basis for the Jack the Ripper sort of thing. He was a notorious Victorian murderer, mate, who was never caught. Springheel Jack.
Yeah, it's just twigged.
See, it's educational this as well, mate. People should be paying for this.
I all say, half an hour with you is an education. Yes, Alistair Jack. What can we say about him having the voice of Scotland? Well, mainly it's the one of the reasons why I keep imploring that we do not withdraw our MPs from the House of Commons. The MPs that support independence, because then that hands the voice of Scotland to Alistair Jack and his department. Quite rightly, because they are the only ones representing Scotland. And would we want to do that? So I am all in favour of keeping our guys and girls who support independence down in the Commons, because if you doubt how effective something small is, was it the Dalai Lama said, try spending the night in a room with a mosquito?
Well, I completely missed all of that, mate. I'm sorry.
Well, we have small numbers of MPs, yeah. So how effective are they? Well, if you want to know the effectiveness of small, try spending the night in a room with a mosquito.
Yeah. No, I know. It's I'm struggling to think of anything that Alistair Jack's actually done as part of Johnson's government. Well, he was Theresa May's government as well, wasn't he?
Was he, or was it Mundell that was Theresa May's?
I don't know. I remember they were struggling to find somebody to do the job because Tories have very few MPs up in Scotland.
Yeah, you know what, Russ? I think you've got far better things to do with your spare time than have a look at what Alistair Jack may or may not have done for Scotland, because what he has done, you'd probably be able to write on the back of a postage stamp.
Yeah, I think he's done the odd headline in the paper about Scotland's not going to be independent, which is it's they could have any faceless bureaucrat roll up from the Tory party and tell us that.
Yeah.
But yeah, So, is there anyone else in the new cabinet you think is worth kind of talking about?
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
For business, energy, and industrial strategy.
Yes, his industrial strategy: kids up the lums, kids into the factories, cancel all merciful tea breaks.
Yeah.
What is it? I came across the other day. He's a classic example.
Or the clip of him saying that he doesn't think that a paid holiday is a moral right.
Yeah, no, it's not a moral right. Absolutely, it's a right, hard won by the unions.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God, but they really do. I mean, we made the joke, and she made the joke about reopening the workhouses, but I don't think it's much of a joke anymore. And I said a while back, and I hate to be proved right, but I said a while back that the Tories start getting their way. They'll look at the things like the working time directive, which limits how long you can be forced to work. They'll eventually turn the steely gaze on the minimum wage or the working wage, whatever you call it. They are not happy with that, mate.
No, the reason behind that, buddy, is their policies have tanked the economy. Yeah, they absolutely failed. Right, so they used to have the EU to blame. That big beast across the water there. Let's blame the EU. That's gone now. That's absolutely gone.
Yeah.
So they've tried blaming the few thousand people crossing the channel, for that problem, and everybody's quite quickly realised that a couple of thousand people coming in is not going to cause disaster to your economy. Right? So now they've got to chip away at everything else. They've got to say, right, it is because you have so many rights that the economy is not functioning well. Was it Liz Truss said that the British worker needs to work harder?
Yeah, and the thing is, mate, you know yourself, the most hardworking people in this country are the lowest paid.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, multi-jobbing.
And I used to make that observation when I was in the military. Is that how come the person that does the least work has got the fucking biggest desk?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you're on an upturned crate in the corner, covered in all this shit and muck of the day, trying to get through it, and then the big boss has got a computer that's never switched on and a desk that's never had a bit of paper on it.
Yes, I remember your story about the computer.
Oh yeah. Oh, my new computer. I won't go into it here.
Yeah.
My new computer that I kept for about 4 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But it's true, and what this pandemic has shown is, and I think someone said it might actually been I can't remember who said it, but effectively, if we woke up tomorrow and every billionaire on the planet had disappeared, nothing would change.
No.
Nothing would change.
Yep.
But if we woke up tomorrow and every person earning minimum wage disappeared, the country would grind to a standstill.
Well, we've seen what happened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Who was important during the pandemic? Well, they're still the people that are important now.
Yeah. Before the pandemic, though, the Tories were having a go at junior doctors and all that sort of stuff, and then suddenly it's like, oh yes, let's clap for the NHS staff.
Yeah.
Not give them a pay rise, but we'll clap for them.
Yeah, because that really does work. Right, buddy, we are running out of time here.
We are. It's getting to the end. We had a comment on TikTok from Fiona who said, all we seem to do is talk. We need action now. Liz will prove much worse than Boris. I hope you're wrong, Fiona. I do. I struggle to think anyone could be worse than Boris. Liz Truss is going to be bad. I have no doubt, but worse than Boris? I'm going to get on a limb here and say, actually, it probably doesn't matter whether it's Liz or Boris or Theresa May or anyone. It's the Tory party that we need to get rid of. And there's one easy way to do that in Scotland.
Yep. And let's vote for independence. Got a comment here from a silent Klansman.
Yeah.
When I mentioned the mosquito, he's chipped in and said the midgie as well. You're absolutely right, buddy. You're absolutely right.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Folks, we've used our time up for the day. Thank you so much for joining us and leaving your comments. You're a bit slow starting on the comments, but yeah, try harder next time. And but thank you so much for turning up, listening to Cliff and I try and put the world to rights in 30 minutes. We do our best.
Yeah.
Join us again next month, the second Monday of the month, 7 o'clock. We'll be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, folks, and take care.
Always a privilege. Thinking that you guys are tuning in, listening to us. Please tune in for next month's one. And as Russ was saying there, we need comments. To grow the show, we need comments. Yeah. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, and if you want to catch up on our meanderings between shows, you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, wherever we might be. We might even say something interesting. You never know. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Cheers, guys.